Hello and welcome to Holistic Nurse Academy. I'm Holly Taylor. I am a registered nurse and a board certified holistic nurse. And we are holding conversations where we bridge the gap between Eastern and Western medicine. And today's guest is Jessica Endicott. Did I say that right? Is it Endicott?
Yep.
Okay, yay, I said it right. um, she's a neuro wellness practitioner, a yoga instructor, and she's here to tell us her own personal journey and how she followed her own inner guidance to a different kind of healing path when she couldn't find answers in traditional Western medicine, is what I call it. Um, just a reminder to everyone, this is for educational purposes and this is not medical advice. So do your research and make sure you're in touch with your own practitioners along the way. But hi, Jessica.
Hi, Holly. Thanks so much for having me.
So glad to have you today. Welcome, welcome. We are building community. We are building a support system, and we're helping people who are in search of different options because they might be feeling a little lost in it. What I know about you is you've got some different options based on your own experience. So where do we start? Do you want to start with what you do? Do you want to start with your history, your story?
Yeah, we can start with what I do. Yeah, my journey did bring me here, but I'm a neuro wellness practitioner. I help people heal their brain with a holistic approach using amino acid therapy, yoga therapy, mindfulness, um, nutrition, functional labs. I really dive deep to understand what is going on that's causing people to be struggling with like the anxious thoughts, the sad thoughts, lack of drive for life, the no motivation, or just feeling that they just are not themselves anymore and they're searching for answers.
Yeah.
And so a lot of
Um,
my a
oh, go
lot of
ahead.
my clients are looking or they're seeking alternative methods because they've been told that their labs are normal, but they still feel they still feel crummy.
It does feel like the quintessential experience right now where people feel crummy and they go to the doctor and they get told, I don't see anything that's like an outlier or, in our basic lab draws that are showing what could be wrong. So from my perspective, including myself as a patient, like I've been through this too in the last 5 or so years with my own health journey. We're kind of left to figure a lot out on our own and seek some different answers.
Right.
Um, so tell us a little bit about what neuro wellness is. Which I like. I think one thing I want to back up here is you talk about root cause,
Mhm.
getting to the root cause, basically not putting a band-aid on it, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about neuro wellness. Sounds loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, gosh, where do I start? Okay, neuro wellness is learning how to use your body, use your symptoms, um, as a way to investigate what is going on. So our body speaks to us in symptoms. That is our body's way of communicating with us. And we've been taught, if we're feeling something uncomfortable in our body, that's not normal. But in fact, it's opposite. It is completely normal. Our emotions are normal. Our feelings are normal. Our symptoms are talking to us. And when we can listen to them, they guide us into our healing. I believe that our bodies are capable of healing. Like if you get a wound, right? If you get a cut, what happens is your body immediately sends out everything that it needs to start repairing that wound. You get that inflammation. The inflammation is your immune system it's trying to rebuild, repair, get rid of any germs, any pathogens that may have come in through that cut. And then it's got all these little beautiful little magical cells underneath that are repairing and rebuilding. So our body is miraculous. It's wonderful. It's amazing. And the symptoms are telling us that there's something that's going on. So it could be food, it could be toxic exposures, it could be pathogens, it could be a lot of things that are going on.
Yes.
And one of the things, that I'm not I'm not against medication. I want to get that straight because I speak against medication because I've had another side of it where my husband lost his life because he was prescribed a medication that he ended up being dependent and addicted to.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm coming from. I want to bring that awareness that we have alternative methods that we can look at. So what I do is actually it's called orthomolecular medicine, and it's been around since the 1960s. Kenneth Bloom. I'm just forgetting some of the other names all of a sudden.
You're good. You'll remember 'em in just a minute. Yeah.
Kenneth Bloom. Oh my gosh.
You're just fine. Here, I'll help you. See. Kenneth Bloom. Hold on. We're gonna find these other names for you,
That's so funny. It just totally like went blank.
and we can edit it
Um,
if you want me to, but I gotta find your email.
Julia Ross.
Okay.
That's who I was thinking of.
Okay. Okay. So Kenneth Bloom, Julia Ross.
Yeah, Kenneth Bloom, Julia Ross, or some of the Carl Pfeiffer is another one. And what they found was that giving your body the vitamins and minerals that it needs supports the brain in being able to function well. So there's a lot more research that has been done since then. And what we look at is we look at genetics, we look at methylation pathways. So COMT, MTHFR is a really popular one. More than half of the population has MTHFR. Then we're going to look at GAD, GAD, and DAO. So there's some other genetics that could be playing into why people are not feeling well.
Yeah.
They could be nutrient deficient, vitamin deficient. Their body could just be metabolizing things differently. Their iron could be off. Their thyroid could be a mess. Their hormones. There's so many things that we're going to look at to see what the body needs to feel well, to feel neurally well. So when you have that neural wellness, your brain functions, you can get things done, you can stay focused, you're happy, you're getting good sleep at night, you are excited about life.
People underestimate, including myself. Yeah, it's been over the last 5 years that I really understood that I was not getting good quality sleep. I feel like we underestimate how important good quality sleep is. And even though I could name off like all the things to do for good quality sleep, I still realized I was a very sensitive to sounds person. Um, and I think we all have like a journey to figure out how to sleep well.
Mhm.
Things that I've had to implement is just like earplugs because I will hear every little sound. Um, and I found some other things that worked for me, but you say sleep, and I'm just like, it's so important to rest and restore and decrease cortisol through proper rest and sleep. So
Yeah. Yep.
tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about uh, is there anything more about the sleep pattern and how to make yourself feel better through that?
Yeah. So, you know, there is a bedtime routine that you should create. So, no screens at least 2 hours before bed because it is going to activate the brain. It's going to keep it awake. Going to bed when it's dark, not when the sun is up. So, we want to work with our circadian rhythm, which is like it's our natural rhythm. getting up when the sun gets up and going to bed like around 9 to 10 o'clock at night is going to be the best. That's going to get us down into that deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get into REM, that's our dream sleep. And it's such a restorative sleep process. So, what happens is our nervous system relaxes, our body slows down, we're not digesting, everything is just taking a break, which we need. There's also a period when we're sleeping where our brain actually shuts off for 30 seconds and does this little reboot. So, it's just like a computer system, right? Like, sometimes you have to reboot your computer, sometimes you have to reboot your phone. Your brain needs that reboot too.
Yeah.
When we're missing out on sleep, it's affecting our hormones. We are experiencing more adrenal fatigue. We get that cortisol rise. We get flooded with with the stress hormone, the
Yeah.
cortisol. And
Well,
then,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and then it
Just
can lead to
thinking
more.
about our nurses who are grave shift workers, that might be listening to this. And I just think, how do we help them?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it leads to inflammation, right? And the oxidative stress for us.
Yeah.
So I did work with people who were night shift workers that I actually worked out at the mine. And so theirs was 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 nights on, and then 4 days off. It was just this rotating shift. And they're so fatigued. They start to get that belly fat
Yep.
because their testosterone, like I was working with men, and so their testosterone was off balance.
Right.
Their brains are not working. Some of them were leaning towards alcohol to cope with it
Yeah.
because they're just not feeling well. And so that's another thing, right? When we're not feeling well, we're looking for things to cope with. We're looking for like sugar, substances, coffee, anything, stimulants, like downers, whatever it is to
Yeah.
band-aid what's going on underneath.
Yeah. I used to eat a lot more on a night shift for that reason, I think. Like when I would work any kind of a night shift,
Hmm.
food was kind of like the thing that would keep me, I don't know, occupied, or was just trying to, you just because you're out backwards. So I would eat more for some reason.
Yeah,
But
and so Holly, yeah, that serotonin depletion.
yeah,
So when your serotonin's depleted, you're more likely to
to
just
start
eat.
eating more.
Yeah, to eat more.
Okay. All right. So good advice and information on the sleep. What else are you seeing when you kind of look at the whole of neuro wellness?
People are not eating and they're not drinking water. So their brain is literally starving and it's dehydrated. So eating is super crucial to be eating 3 to 4 hours a day so that we can get, or 3 to 4 hours each time, right? Every 3 to 4 hours. And you should have some protein with your meal. So I always recommend like eating half of your body weight in grams of protein. So, like, say you weigh 150 pounds, you're going to eat 75 grams of protein a day,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Um, Water, we need half of our body weight in ounces of water. So for 150 pounds, we need 75 ounces of water a day. But when our brain is dehydrated, the neurotransmitters can't fire, our brain can't think, our thought process is slowed, we've got the brain fog, we're dizzy, we're kind of agitated. Same with food. Our blood sugar drops. There's where that anger, that hangriness comes from, that
Yeah.
irritability, anxiousness. Like the first thing I always ask my clients when they tell me they're feeling anxiety, I'm like, when was the last time you ate?
Yeah.
And usually they haven't eaten. So right there, that's a symptom, right? A symptom.
Yeah.
Listen to that anxiety symptom. Your body's telling you it's hungry. It's in fight. It's going into fight or flight because it literally thinks that it's starving.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been there. been very hangry in my life.
Well, yeah, as a nurse, you don't have time to, like, stop and actually just, like, eat mindfully, right? It's like, just grab whatever you can, get to the
Yeah,
next patient, if you even have time to grab anything, and throw it in your mouth.
I know. And this is part of why we're having these conversations is, whether you're a nurse or not, you're welcome to these conversations, but I want nurses to feel empowered to take their life back and we deserve basic needs met, like being able to eat regularly and use the restroom regularly and have some boundaries around that so that we can serve others to the fullest. And right now, the system isn't supporting that in a great way. So, I tell people, yeah, I created my own work environment. I got out of the system, created my own work environment, so that I can live my healthiest life, so
Mhm.
that I can eat right, so that I can exercise, so that I can get good sleep. The traditional path was not allowing for that, for me. And to your point, my cortisol was high. I was gaining weight. I was dysregulated, all of that because I was working in a system that didn't value those things for me.
Right.
So,
Right, but it's called a healthcare system.
right. I know, right? It's so
Uh,
frustrating. It's so frustrating. So, until they figure it out, we have to empower ourselves and take steps. When, I just got to the point personally where I was like, I can't if I want to be healthy, I can't do this job anymore, the job that I was doing.
yeah.
Which it was a build up to a moment,
Mhm.
Um, but also to your point, you're kind of talking about root cause, getting to the root, not putting a band-aid on things, tapping into your body's inner wisdom that it knows how to heal. Um, and also this isn't something I've learned, what you are talking about in your approach is that one of my favorite people is Marianne Williamson.
Mm.
And she articulated it very well, where she said, anxiety and depression are often very normal feelings when you're going through certain things in life.
Absolutely.
And I think we have just totally villainized anxiety and depression as something's wrong with me.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It might just be a perfectly normal feeling considering what you're going through.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. There's, like there's so much truth to what you said, Holly, but there's so many times where, people are working through stages of grief that they don't realize.
Yeah.
Maybe their life isn't the way that they envisioned, or maybe they had to move. And that moving requires a grieving of what they once had or what they once knew, right?
Yeah.
But in that transition, there is that grief that they go through, which is the anxiousness because now it's new,
Yeah.
that sad because they want that old life back because it was so familiar.
Yep.
And then they just go through these different emotions when they're trying to build anew or move in life. Even
Yeah.
like surgery. Surgery is huge for grief and people don't realize that. One of the
And that it activates grief?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
it
can
can
activate
activate grief. Yeah,
yeah,
because you're longing to get back to who you once were, or even like if somebody has a body part taken out, right? Like gallbladder surgery, it's so normal to have gallbladder surgery or normal to have your gallbladder removed, but people don't understand that there's like this grief that happens inside of the body for these parts that are no longer there with us.
yeah,
And so maybe if we can look at that and be like, "Oh, wow," and give us ourselves some grace and feel it. So one of the things that I teach is being okay with those emotions, feeling them, giving them a name or a shape or a color, and allowing it to be. and actually like really truly feeling it, as scary as that sounds to some people. But if you can feel it and you can allow it to be, it's such a beautiful process and you're honoring your part of being human and
Yeah.
which is having these emotions, and then you can move through it. And you don't
Yeah.
have to rely. Now, there is a time and there is a place for medication.
Yeah.
There is. But there's also a time where we need to sit with our emotions, sit with what we're feeling, and just feel it and let it flow. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry.
You know, anger is an interesting one. 'Cause I do similar processes with my cranial sacral work. And when you do this work, you do the work on yourself too, right? Like I've had
Mhm.
to do a lot of inner work on myself, and anger was one um that I had to get comfortable feeling anger and realize that didn't mean I was a bad person for being angry, and I think that's kind of a common thing you will see with people is this fear of feeling anger because anger is so looked down upon, but it is very much
Mhm.
color wheel when it comes to emotions. Um, I think Brene Brown said we've identified like 35 plus emotions that we feel, and most people can name like four. Like I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm happy.
Mhm.
And like we would behoove us to learn more names for our emotions and what you're actually feeling. But
Mhm.
anger is one of those ones where I just have learned to say I'm angry, to say I'm mad. I'm really mad that that happened to me.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean you're going to stay there.
No.
What's been your experience with the anger emotion?
Anger was hard for me too. Yeah, because I was taught that anger is scary.
Yeah,
Like my dad was an abusive alcoholic.
yeah,
And so his anger taught me fear and like you don't express anger because if you express anger, you're hurting the people that you love.
right. It's going to be big, scary,
Yeah.
violent. Yeah,
Yeah. But then when I finally like really sat with anger and was like, oh, it's okay for me to feel anger because it means that I feel betrayed. Why do I feel betrayed? Because somebody went against my standards or they hurt me or, they did something to affect me. And yeah, like part of Buddhism teachings and mindfulness teachings is that we are in control of our emotions. But I think that that's bypassing because
yeah,
people do hurt us. People do things that can
right.
hurt our spirit and hurt our hearts, especially if there's somebody that we love. Right.
Yeah,
And so we have a right to feel that anger. Anger is a good emotion. Um, and moving with it, like somatic movement is so powerful, like being able to move through that and express. Like I did this when I was going to psychotherapy. My psychotherapy my psychotherapist had me get up and show what chaos was feeling like. I was living in this state of chaos, and I just remember, like, throwing my arms everywhere, but that chaos was, like, all these emotions, right? It was this anger, it was this frustration, it was my life wasn't how I wanted it to be. It was, like, the situation I was in, and it just everything just felt so chaotic to me, and it was all these emotions mixed into this one big, huge ball that once I, like, started moving it and throwing my arms and throwing my body around, it felt so great.
yeah,
And so for now, like, I've learned that that anger has a right to exist and that it's a teacher for me, and it helps me to be able to communicate once I've moved through it too.
yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's that whole feel to heal expression.
Mhm.
And we think that repressing anger, and we're obviously just using one example of one emotion, but anytime we think we're repressing an emotion uh, and it's going to just go away, it doesn't. One thing I've noticed when I work on people, it hides or it wants to like not be found. So it'll be like, oh, I'm feeling pain in my left arm. Oh, now it's in my stomach. And it's, it's trying to like not be found. And then you find it, it releases, and it's gone. And so it's just a reminder to, how powerful that process is of we don't actually suppress anything. We don't actually, or if we do, it's not actually doing us any good.
Yeah.
It
Well,
becomes a disease state.
yeah. And like you just said, it's gone. Like when you deal with it, it's gone. That pain is gone. That tension is released. Like that body ache no longer aches anymore.
Right.
Mm.
Um, like a lot of people felt in their chest, which does feel like anxiety. Um, and all of a sudden you've named it. It's not actually even anxiety, it's pain, it's whatever the other emotion is. The anxiety is the symptom often,
Mhm.
right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
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 We could probably have a whole podcast on all the different things anxiety likes to show up as,
Yeah.
So, but I'm with you. I fell through my own journey of emotional trauma, anxiety, depression. There was a time and a place for, like you said, the medications got me through the crisis point where, if I'm just can't get through a day. We got to do something to regulate in an emergency situation. But I got to a point where it's like I knew I was just band-aiding this deeper thing, and that anxiety was telling me something much deeper. And I wasn't getting to the root.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was a whole journey for me. But I rarely experience anxiety anymore personally because of that journey I went on, and the willingness to express this is where it was in my body, and have someone hold space for me. One of the things that came to mind when you were talking about your chaos was that you were able to express that and do that in a therapeutic environment,
Mhm.
which I think is really important when we're scared to feel our emotions, that you've got someone there with you saying, I'm not scared of your emotions and I will hold your hand through this.
Mhm.
You agree?
Yeah, absolutely, because our family, as much as they love us, they don't want us to hurt, right?
Right.
They don't want like, it's very uncomfortable to have somebody that you love crying or expressing their
Right.
anger, and yeah, a lot of people don't know how to allow that space for somebody to work through it.
Definitely a skill.
Yeah, and so working with somebody who's trained, yourself, a psychotherapist, a licensed clinical social worker, I'm trained to do that work as well. But yeah, it's so important to be able to work with somebody who understands that and who can help you navigate through it.
So your story is really impactful, and I feel like I definitely want to hold space for that today. Do you feel willing and open to have that conversation about your own personal story?
Yeah, yeah,
Tell,
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about how you got here on this path.
Um, yeah.
And we have
Mm,
time, so share
Okay.
whatever parts you want to share.
Okay. Um, okay, so I'll just start like I grew up with a toxic environment. I had my father who was an abusive alcoholic to all of us, including my mom. And I watched him struggle in and out of addiction recovery programs just to come home and relapse
Yeah.
over and over. And eventually he did pass away from his alcoholism. And when that happened, it was 2002. I can't do the math of how old I was right now. Like there's parts of your life that you block out when you have trauma, right? And
Yeah.
so that but what I do remember is that it was very traumatizing for me when my father passed. I was an adult. Um, but when he passed, it's really interesting what the brain does to your perpetrator and
Mm.
how all of a sudden you put them on this like pedestal right? And then you just remember all the good times and you don't remember the bad. And that's called cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
right? There's this cognitive dissonance that happens. And anyway, so this grieving process was very confusing and very hard for me. And I didn't know how to navigate it. And my medical doctor put me on Zoloft, right? Because I'm grieving. So give me a medication. um, and it worked for a little bit, but then I became numb. Like I was just numb to everything, numb to feeling numb. Like I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just numb.
Mm.
Um, by this time I was already married. So in 2002, when my dad passed away, I was already married. I already had 2 children of my own. And then we ended up building a house, and I was like, okay, I can get off of this medication. My doctor wouldn't help me. So I created I just took it away actually. I just took the pill away, stopped taking it, didn't realize how dangerous that was, and started
Oh,
having like all these electrical like shooting sensations, the brain zaps down the
yeah.
back of my neck and in my brain. And my doctor at the time didn't tell me that that was a withdrawal symptom. So I just like intuitively jumped back on the medication and started like cutting my pills down, weaning myself off of it slowly. So I did that by myself. Um, then my husband had all this dental surgery. He had dental surgery, a hernia operation, and ended up addicted to pain pills because both the dentist and the doctor were prescribing back-to-back opiates, Loratab and Percocet. And we didn't know. We weren't informed about the risks, about how it was super addictive and could be dependent. And he ended up going to a treatment center for 6 years. So during this time, he was clean, he was sober, but he was also on Suboxone. And what they kept doing was just increasing his dose. So he was only supposed to be on it for 6 months to a year. And he wasn't. He was on it for 6 years. They were going to give him coping skills so that he could get off of it. And the treatment center that we were going to had a really great program. They had a doctor, they had psychiatrists, they had family therapists, they had group meetings. It was a really beautiful program. But then they split. And because my husband needed the Suboxone, he had to follow this medical provider. And my husband found a way to start abusing it, which most addicts do. And I would go to the doctor and I'd say, please help him. Please, like, he's abusing it now. You said that you were going to get him off. It's now 3 years. Well, the doctor would say, but if it's keeping him alive, why do you want him off of it? Because he was barely functioning. He wasn't happy. We didn't have a sex life. We're just young in our 30s. We should be having sex like rabbits, right?
Right.
Like, and he just like was so exhausted all the time, just existing. So he's like, Jess, he said, I'm going to start taking myself off of this, but I've been reading about the post-acute withdrawal syndromes and how scary that is. And he's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so he starts tapering down. He tapers down, ends up jumping off and relapsing really hard, like relapsing really, really hard into heroin. And like a year and a half later ends up losing his life to an overdose. There was nothing I could do. There were times where I was chasing him down because he was going to run into oncoming traffic, because he was going to take his life, because, he wasn't coherent. He was under the control of these drugs. And like many attempts of suicide over this time. Just he rolled his truck off of the side of the freeway, flipped it 7 times, walked away from that incident. He just had one thing after another happening during this year and a half, was in 6 car accidents. Um, I had to pretty much do a restraining order where he couldn't see the kids anymore. We had a hardwood flooring business. He destroyed it. Was just pulling thousands of dollars of cash out to just go and buy drugs. And so once he ran off and he was doing all of his heroin, we were no longer living together. I had to quit my job because I couldn't take care of my kids, making $9 an hour, and went and got a new job and was there for 1 month, got a raise. And the night that got my raise, I'm driving home and was in a car accident. I was T-boned and taken by ambulance to the hospital. Um, Ended up with a concussion, a traumatic brain injury. But I'm the only provider, right? So this is a Friday when I get in this car accident. Monday morning, I still go to work. I'm barely walking. Like, I am so hunched over. My body's in so much trauma. I'm so injured. I had a chest contusion, whiplash. My low back was all messed up. I had a sprained toe. My knee was all cut up. And here I go, like, still walking into work with a brain injury, still trying to like take care of my kids.
Right.
Bills. And I tell my boss, like, I have a brain injury. He allows me to work throughout the day. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at my desk and like everything around me is just going black. Like, everything around me is just going black. I can't see anything. And I'm just sitting at my desk, like, in fear. Like, what is going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen to me? Right.
Right.
And he comes in at the end of the day and says, "We can't keep you. We need
Oh
somebody full time to work. We can't reduce you to part time. We have to let you go."
my gosh.
So I lose my job, go through, it was so crazy that year. So crazy.
Yeah.
So my husband relapses. My daughter gets severely injured in gymnastics. She destroys her nose and has to have 2 major reconstructive surgeries. Can you hear all that static?
It sounds okay.
Okay.
I hear a little bit, but not a ton.
Okay.
And I can edit that out.
Okay.
So your daughter had a surgery.
Yeah. So my daughter has to have 2 major reconstructive surgeries for her nose. She loses her gymnastics career. Um, I lose my job. I have a TBI. I have physical injuries, and I am laying on my bedroom floor just completely shattered. Here I am, like, losing my husband. He's off deep in his drugs. I'm trying to take care of my kids alone, my teenage children, 14 and 16 at the time.
Yeah.
And I can't do it. I've just lost my only source of income.
Yeah.
And I physically and mentally couldn't do it. And emotionally, I was shattered. Right? So I'm just laying on my bedroom floor, just like crying, saying, "I can't do this. Like, God, why did you give all this to me? Like, what? I can't do all this. Why am I
Right.
going through this?" And thank goodness my mom was living with me and my sister and her kids, because I like to collect people. So it's always like, come live with me, even if I don't have the room. And my mom she just took care of me. She just like started taking care of me. And um, 3 months passed by and they give me the approval to go back to work. So, but I have no idea how, but I land a job at Kennecott, working in the underground department. Nobody knows I have a brain injury. I have to learn all these new systems that I've never worked before, SAP, Prism, Primavera, like all this stuff. And I have to learn like how to do the scheduling and even though I'd done scheduling before, but I had to learn like accounting. I knew counting. I had to learn their accounting software and like how they did everything, right?
Yeah.
And I have no idea how I did that. Like
Yeah.
I know that there were days where I would sit there at my desk and be like, "Come on, brain, please work. Just please work. Just please work." Please. And then I would have the blackout spells.
Yeah.
People didn't know that I was just sitting there like staring at my desk, not seeing anything. Everything around me is completely black.
Oh, that's scary.
And then like I get a call that Charles had overdosed, but he hadn't died yet. So he spends a week in jail, or not a week in jail. He spends a week in the intensive care unit. So that's going
Yep.
on. Yeah, it's just like one thing. And then I end up moving out. Everybody ends up moving out of the house that we're living in together. And I
Okay.
end up moving into this little 2-bedroom apartment with my children. Oh, I lose my job at Kennecott. And then I get
Oh,
picked up
random.
by, yeah, I get picked up by another company that's now above ground mining. So instead of doing underground, now I'm doing above ground mining. So I have to learn all their systems. And I didn't understand like predecessors or successors. Like I didn't understand that in scheduling. There were just words that wouldn't make sense in my brain. And I would hang up work on the walls and I would have to go in and sneak in and take them off and redo it because I'd noticed there were errors. I was constantly redoing my work, but nobody knew.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
And then, so I've got this new job, move into this new apartment, and that weekend I wake up to the phone call that Charles has passed away.
Wow.
So it was just like a year and a half of like trauma after trauma
Yeah.
after trauma after trauma and like huge events that nobody ever goes through in their lifetime.
Right.
And learning to put my body back in place, learning to put my brain back in place, now learning to put my life in place, knowing that my companion that had been my companion for more than half of my life at the time was no longer going to be around.
Right.
And so during my journey, I am going to a neurologist and I'm going to um, physical therapy and chiropractor. And then eventually my physical therapy shares her little energy tricks with me. I didn't know she did energy work. And like she starts doing energy work on me and starts like helping me work through my grief and the stuck traumas. And then my sister invites me to yoga. And so but it's not just yoga, it's hot yoga. And I'm like, what? I said, no, like I've already been traumatized and tortured enough. Like, I don't want to go to hot yoga. And she's like, just try it. Just come and just lay in the room. It will be so good for your body. And so I
Yeah.
did. And then I kept going and I kept going. And then like I just kept going on my journey and just diving deeper into all these natural ways. And I never used medication during any of this because I didn't want my kids to lose me. And
Yeah.
I knew that I had to go through, like, just something innately inside me knew that I had to go through all this soberly.
Yeah.
And then I end up becoming a yoga teacher. And then I'm like, oh, I want to be a yoga therapist. So instead of stopping at 200 hours, I go for 1,000 hours. And then I become a mindfulness teacher. And then I meditate for 1,000 days. And that like really transformed my brain and my thinking and just my way of like reacting to
Yeah.
things because I was in fight or flight. I was
Yeah.
in living in this constant fight or flight from 2012 to 2019.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't healing. Like I was going to all these, physical therapy, the chiropractor, all this stuff, and I wasn't healing because I was still in that fight or flight.
Right.
Yeah. And then I end up getting out of the fight or flight. Things start shifting even more. And then I go to functional nutrition school. Then I get on amino acid therapy and Like the amino acids my brain starts working again, things are firing again, and I can think, I can focus, and my confidence is coming back. And then I go to the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition, learn about dosing amino acid therapy, and like I just keep healing and it's just layers and layers and layers of working through all this trauma,
Yeah.
working through all the emotions, understanding, okay, like that journey had to happen. All of that had to happen to bring me here now to where I am, to be able
Right.
to see what other people go through too, to be able to know how to fully help and support them. And I had to understand the depth of all of that. I had to walk all those steps to be able to help others.
Yeah.
And one of
Yeah.
the biggest things that I saw, Holly, during like my husband's recovery,
Yeah.
nobody ever talked about nutrition and nobody ever talked about healing the brain and how important that was. They just wanted to do talk therapy and prescribe.
Yeah. I've, listening to your story is reminding me that I need to have a podcast on the reckoning of this opioid crisis we went through. Just so you know, when I was in nursing school, I felt just as betrayed by the opioid crisis as, as a nurse, not just as a family member who's had family members be addicted, but as a nurse, because when I was in nursing school and we were taking pharmacology, I actually had a family member, or I had family members struggling with their own addiction. And I could see in my mind's eye that, like, there should be some regulation around this. There should be some stopping point. My brain was thinking, why don't doctors prescribe it, a certain way or an endpoint or help people get off it? And I actually asked that question in the middle of my pharmacology course. And you would have thought like the needle went off the record and like you could tell everyone felt super uncomfortable by my question, but I was being sincere because I was going through it too as a family member. My question was, why isn't there more regulation around opioid prescriptions and how we prescribe them and managing those, because they were at that time, it was just kind of up to the physician just to willy nilly prescribe it how they wanted to. And you could physician shop a lot easier back then. Well, we fast forward to now, and what they've done is they basically said no more opioids for anyone in any circumstance, and it's just like, as nurses, we're kind of going, well, what are we supposed to do to help our people, And I also feel like as a nurse, I was let down by being told to educate people that this is safe. You can take these. It's going to be okay. And there was never a plan in place to make sure that that was true. So just so you know, as a practitioner, I felt very let down by the system too on that end. So, and I'm truly so sorry that happened to you and your family and your
Yeah.
spouse.
Thank you for that. And wow, like I feel that heaviness that you had to walk through that.
Yeah.
So thank you for being a voice, though, and for asking and for really like questioning the system because the system failed and it affected so many people's lives. And I think doctors do have good intentions when they go into like getting the medical, getting their medical degree and
Sure.
becoming a
Mhm.
doctor. But
For
I
sure.
think they're misguided and miseducated and
Yeah.
and not educated on certain things because unfortunately there's a system out there that wants
It's
us sick.
it's funneled. Yeah.
Yeah, and they are going to educate biased. They're going to be biased on how they educate the providers that they're giving this information to.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've, when I was talking about the pain management for people and prescription drugs, I never once was like thinking I was working for a corporation or big pharma or anything like that. That's what I was educated to do. And I felt like we had these check and balances in place to make sure only good things would come of it. But to your
Mhm.
point, kind of back in the story, and what I have learned through my own family's mental health crisis is it's usually a symptom of something much deeper like trauma when somebody becomes addicted to something. Um, and so I've been through those rehab programs too, where it's like actually shame and blame. And then you have like these tribal moments where everyone tells every bad thing they did and they have like a shame party. And that's not helpful either.
Mm-mm.
Like to say, I'm such a bad person because I did this, this, and this, and this. Well, that's not healing either. So, I know it's meant to be taking ownership, but that's not what it ends up doing.
No.
And I look back on those days for my family because I was not the one on the recovery end, but I look back on those days for my family members and cringe
Mhm.
because it was like their shame was on display.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful either.
No.
So we definitely have and down that along those lines, it sounds like you've maybe learned some of those lessons in sense that you're becoming a behavioral mental health therapist, or tell me what.
Yeah, so I'm working on my Doctor of Behavioral Health right now, and
Okay.
it's an integrative school that I'm going to. So it's
That.
Western and Eastern, which
Yeah.
is so amazing. I'm
Love
so
that.
happy to be enrolled in that.
Yes.
Um, and I want to talk a little bit more about what you were saying with like the addiction and the opiates and like
Yep.
coming off of it. And that is something that I do. So I don't do the tapering for people,
Okay.
but I do help create a plan for them nutritionally and supporting the brain so that it helps to lessen the side
Okay.
effects and the withdrawals. We're using amino acid therapy therapeutically, which can help with like the tremors. It can help with the brain zaps, and it is done safely. It's done therapeutically. And that is something that I learned from the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
it's repairing the brain while they're coming off of it, which I so wish my husband would have been able to have.
Right.
And then one other thing I wanted to touch on too. So you talked about trauma underlying,
Yeah.
which yes, trauma is huge. And then there can also be something physiologically and biochemically that's going on in the body too that's causing them to use a substance as well.
Yeah. Thank you for um adding that in there. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Um so part of my intention and hope in all of these conversations, I have this desire to believe that we can blend I can take what I've learned in my traditional nursing, take what I've learned in my holistic nursing courses, blend them together for the, take what works the best and make it good, right?
Yep.
Um, Partly because I just don't believe in the blame game anymore. Um, I used to be a person who lived in the blame or shame or,
The victim
the
too.
victim. Thank you. Yeah, the victim. So I don't want this to be a victim conversation. I want this to be an empowered conversation as I'm holding these conversations with people. So in that vein of like empowering us to take what's good in both worlds, what do you see would be helpful to do that and also to rebuild trust with people if I kind of feel like we need to reinvent the wheel. So if we're going to
Mhm.
reinvent the wheel or build the system back up, how are we going to do that in a more idealistic way? What are your thoughts on those questions? How do we regain trust?
How do we regain trust? Well, I think we have to put the person first, right? We have to step outside of the ego. We have to
Yeah.
step outside of thinking that we have all the answers, and we have to take a whole person approach. So, and we have to collaborate with other like-minded people. We we can't just say that one system is better than the system, even though you and I both have experienced some some pretty harsh things within the medical, there still is a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
And we need both of them to come together to collaborate. So, first thing we have to think of the person, what is in their best interest? Do they need a medication right now so that they can get through this, so that we can give them the skills that they need, so that we can work with them on a deeper level of understanding their emotions, so that we can get them on a good nutrition plan and actually like listening to what the person is saying? Because I think so many people are dismissed and bypassed and just told that your labs are normal, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, the shift for me in being more holistic in how I approach uh, a client or a patient is you tell me what you think would be best for you. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with a medication? Do you want to start with something else? Because, like, we all have our own personal history. So, someone like you or I are most likely going to say, I'm open to trying a medication, but that is not where I want to start.
Mhm.
And we need practitioners who can meet us there and give us other options on where to start if we're not going to start there.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
yeah. Um, but it's, I mean, to me, I think we have to have a little bit of a shift and change. The other end of that is as clients, as we are the patient, as we are the client, we have to be prepared that a pill is not going to fix it, maybe. We have to be prepared that somebody might tell us to fix the way we eat. And they might say, introduce these other things into your life that might not be a magic fix. It might be an integrated type program where they go see someone like you. They're seeing their doctor, and then they go see a neuro wellness practitioner and, someone who does functional medicine and a chiropractor, and all of those guys become, and all those practitioners become part of your team.
Mhm.
And that it's not a one-stop journey that we also desperately wish that it was.
Yep.
Do you agree?
I do agree. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Yep.
Yeah. We got it. If we want people who are willing to give us options, we have to be open to the options.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm
Yep.
trying to make that fair on both sides of the fence, right?
Yeah.
So if we're craving that, I want practitioners that give that to you, but also you have to be willing to take something other than a pill. And you need to vocalize that to your practitioner that you're open to those because
Yeah. And
I know.
also
Oh, go ahead.
oh, and also vocalize if you're not gonna do it, because if you're not gonna
Right,
do it, like
right.
yeah.
Well, I just know, like, eating well can just reduce so many health risks. Getting the proper nutrition, eating well, but that's the last thing people want to hear when they come to, they have a problem that they want to fix, that they've got to change their diet. Like most people are like, "Oh, really?" So we all have to take accountability in that,
Mhm.
um, if we're going to change the way things are.
It's so empowering though once you take that accountability and you start making those steps and you start creating that journey with your body and
Yeah,
with your food and with yourself, and you start seeing that connection.
right.
Oh my gosh, food really is impacting me. Like I remember my daughter, my daughter sent me a text and she was like, "Oh, I feel like crap today. I ate Chick-fil-A yesterday and this and this and that." And she's like, "Wow, food really does impact you, doesn't it?"
Yeah, that's so funny. You're like, yes.
I'm like, "You know this stuff. You've been taught this your whole life."
That's so great. Well, I'm glad she
Mm.
had that epiphany and shared it with you. But food is medicine. Food is medicine.
Yep.
Movement is medicine. Food is medicine. Um, Anything else you want to share before we wrap things up today? Any other last minute thoughts?
Um, So for those that are listening that are clients that are looking for alternatives or they're working with a doctor, ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Ask side effects. Ask if they can dive deeper. Ask if they can run some labs and look at your thyroid, look at your hormones, see if those might be causing some of your anxiousness or your depression. And you get to be your own advocate. Like
Yeah.
you really do have a voice in how your care is provided and delivered to you. And so if you don't like what your doctor has to say, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, I mean, that's one of the empowering tools I want people to learn. Um, is I know we feel bogged down by um what's in my insurance plan, but there's lots of practitioners in your insurance plan. So make sure you pick a practitioner that gets you and you feel connected to and aligned with. And I have even gone to the lengths of paying for my own out of pocket doctor visits if they aren't network and I really like them.
Yep.
That that's how
Me too.
dedicated I am to it. It's worth it to me.
Yeah, it is to me too. Yep.
So, I know that's a big ask for people, but we have to start thinking outside the box and not just feel like we're victims and stuck in this system that isn't working for us. Like if it's not truly working for you, I will pay $100 to $200 for an out of pocket doctor visit.
I will
And
too.
obviously, once things get more specialized, that becomes more difficult. But that's the empowering piece, right?
Mhm. But Holly, I'm sure that you offer, like, package deals, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Too, if you're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
clients as well? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah,
some
I'm thinking more like traditional kind of doctor's visits is what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I've paid yep, we used to go all the way up to Midway from Salt Lake for
yeah,
some of my daughter's holistic treatments too,
yeah.
so
Yeah, but just because the relationship is the most important part of your visit.
Mhm.
Um, so pick someone you have a good relationship with.
Yeah.
That's my that's my empowering tip of the day.
And somebody who's willing to investigate with you or
Yeah.
yeah.
Someone who I had a conference this weekend and one of the questions was what what do you like in a practitioner? And someone said, someone who's willing to say, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Mm,
Um, and I'll say, in addition to that, I don't know, I'll find out. And whatever you're going through, we're in it together for as long as it takes. You
yeah,
know, those are the kind of people we need to be and need to be working with. So,
yeah. Thank you
well,
so much, Holly. What a
thank
great
you.
conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate your sharing your very deep and personal story. Uh, I got choked up at a minute there. Thought we are gonna have to hit pause because I really felt connected to it a lot. So thank you for sharing so deeply. Jessica, tell us where we can find you if people want to connect with you.
Go to jessicaendicott.com, and I've also got a 3-minute nervous system reset that you can get. There's also a free book that you can get on there as well.
Great. And for us, if you're interested in what we're doing at Holistic Nurse Academy, you can go to holisticnurseacademy.org. We're on all the socials. We're working on getting on Apple for our podcast. That should be happening shortly. Um, otherwise, you should be able to find us on any of the socials where we are. Our website, we have classes. We're teaching Eastern and Western therapies. A lot of what we have on the website right now are integrative touch or things that you can use in practice. So we have an acupressure for nurses course, a sound healing course, a meditation course. That one's taught by me because, like Jessica was saying, it was very helpful in rewiring my brain. Meditation was, and then we have a essential oils course taught by a nurse to give you some really good foundational concepts about essential oils. So thanks to everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week and talk to you next time. Thanks again, Jessica.
Bye. Thank you.
Day.